Hey, everybody. Happy 2023. We are spilling the spirituality. I am Rev Rob. This is my friend Hilary, and this is what we do. We get together and talk about spirituality topics. We're starting off the new year with a bang, aren't we, Hilary? We were just having an off-camera conversation about spirituality and sexuality. So, yes. So
Yeah.
we thought, hey, this is a way to kick off the year. And wow, I'm going to keep the blush control on in some way. And we're just going to go for it. So, Hilary, we were just having a conversation about sexuality, and we were talking about how some people we know don't quite put the two together. And I'm just going to ask you, do you consider sexuality and our sexual intimacy with our partners something that is spiritual for you? Or have you ever thought about this in this way?
Oh my gosh. Yes. A resounding yes. And let's just say we are starting 2023 with a bang. You know what? I am tired of this, like, oh, sex is dirty. Can't talk about it. Blah, blah, blah. It's bad. No, it's a huge help to merge the two spiritually and sexually. And, that was what Rob and I were talking about. And we were like, let's just put this on camera. What the hell? Or on audio. Yes, first of all, I have learned, which I'm sure you have too, that the actual orgasm is called the Godhead. And it is the highest vibration, highest feeling that we can feel when we experience it. And speaking from the women's side of things, a lot of women may not have orgasms, and that's a disservice to yourself. You need to have an orgasm because you have to experience that Godhead. And so, I'm a big believer in vibrators or whatever you need to get you there. There's no shame in this game. I don't know, why it's been considered like something we don't talk about. When I am with my partner and we experience orgasm, I was telling Rob this, I like to send it into the universe while I'm experiencing this. And because the world needs light, we need more love and light. And so why not just send it there? And I was saying how for me, it's much more powerful when I think to do that. And there's just a million reasons why sexuality is so important and why they should be interwoven. I think it's kind of interesting that like the church or whatever religious affiliation like tend to want to, it's almost like separate it. So I think
Absolutely.
the purpose for this discussion is how it can benefit us so much when we intertwine the two. What do you think?
I, yes, we have hit the ground running here, right to it. The fact is, most Judeo-Christian, most of our traditions, most faiths seem to separate this idea of God and anything that has to do with our physical body. So, physical desires and cravings, um, longings are sinful because they distract us from elevating ourselves to that spiritual level. So, just if you look at the seven deadly sins, I mean, lust, gluttony, all these things that we're using to fill ourselves in some way from a base point of view, from our root chakra, from our sacral chakra, are considered sinful. And I there was a point where we're not sexual historians or scholars, but there was an understanding that I had that this connection that I'm making with somebody and this is whether it's a casual connection or whether it's one that is, a lifelong partnership, has the opportunity to become something that elevates us in our spirituality if we are present. And we've talked so much about mindfulness here and being present no matter what the issue was. So how many topics have we talked about in the last couple of years? But it really all boils down to being mindful in the moment. And I think our sexual intimacy is one of those moments. I love that you send that moment of ecstasy to the universe, because the universe, it was always there. It's like electricity. It was like always there. And
Right.
you just realized that it was that means of alignment. And I love that. I have always, when I realized that I didn't have to separate the two, because recognizing and being mindful was actually being grateful for the gift of this pleasure, connection, intimacy, then I only saw it as something that could be spiritual. And that doesn't mean that I got to be like going to church or praying every time I'm having sex, but recognizing how beautiful it is that I have this chance to make this connection with somebody. And in that connection, then jointly make this connection to the universe. And it sounds lofty, but we have been given this gift of humanity. The gift of
Exactly.
sensuality is one of them. So food, sex, touch, like those are important. We need those things to live,
Right.
and to consider them sinful seems ridiculous to me. But I respect the fact that most of us have been groomed to think this, and shifting to this idea of sex as a gift, like the rest of life is a gift, like our experience of life is a gift, is critical to, or integral to living more fully, living your best life, as the phrase goes now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's well, first of all, you brought up something that I'd like to address, which is about being present, especially I'm just gonna speak to, women who maybe have children or, are occupied with so many things. Actually, I'm sure this applies to everybody, really. If your mind is on other things and you've had a partner for a long time, sometimes people can be like, and I've been guilty of this, like, did I take the laundry out of the machine? Or, oh, did I, I have to call Logan or whatever. Like, it's when you do that, you're unconscious, right? And like the goal in our lives is to be as conscious and as present as possible at every moment that we can, and especially in sexuality. Number one, you'll have a much more beautiful experience. And number two, then you can take it to these new heights, and something else that you said that made me think is like, where else? I mean, the fact that two people can merge as one, there's nothing else, as far as I know, where you get that experience. So, like, why would that be bad? Why would that be wrong? This is the bodies that we've been given. Like, we're supposed to explore and feel and so, and I think more with human to human and less with like, not that there's anything wrong with porn or anything like that, but you're never going to get the same connection as you do when with two people physically are together. So yeah, I mean, I'm thinking as we're talking that, here we are in 2023. Yeah, man, let's go big or go home. Like, I'm
Yep.
tired of being rated G. Like, this should be considered rated G, because this is just another thing
Right.
that we do to shape and make our lives more beautiful. And so many are not having sex, especially if they've been in relationships for a long time, or they're mostly tuned in technologically, that I guess this is a call out to like go find some
Yeah.
sex.
And yes, have sex. Well, I think the fact that we've been, again, taught to separate them means that we've got to choose one or the other. As a minister, people were always fascinated that I would be so frank and talk about enjoying sex, because they could not wrap their head around this fact. Either that or it was fetishized. People thought, oh my God, that's really hot that you're a minister and still like sex. But it's like, why? Like, I
Right.
consider my life as a gift. I consider the meal that I eat as a gift, or the oral ecstasy that I have when I hear a great music piece. Why would I separate this? And the, to extract the shame from this experience as sexuality uh, is is what I would hope to do. Like, I have a lot of, I mean, I do have a lot of hangups because of how I grew up, but I don't think those are not my aspirations. Like, I don't hold on to those hangups and then, I am perfectly aware of, like, oh, I'm feeling like, I'm feeling like this experience might be sinful in some way, but knowing that that's a ridiculous thought. The sin, if you will, is going to be me believing that I'm separate from the source in any way, including from this experience. Like, it just seems much more. I think that desire to create God or the source as this big, mysterious, unattainable um, uh, experience of spirituality is the same thing that we've done with sex. Like that, so one is like, you can't ever get here. You just got to keep working for it, or you can just give up and give into your base desires, and then you're going to go the other direction. It's like, it doesn't have to be that way. Like, we live here in this present moment, and aligning with life is about having that sigh, that pause, that release to the universe and connecting with it. So, and I mean, just the opportunity to be with somebody present, to touch, be intimate, and find, to look into somebody's eyes and see, something greater than yourself or something greater than this thing. It's all what the possibilities are. It's how we choose to see it.
Yeah, so we want to change the paradigm of how we look at this. And I know from a lot of women who are in long-term relationships, it becomes one more thing to mark off your to-do list. And that's really a shame, because there's a lot of physical benefits to having that release. Like, I can't think of them off the top of my head. Like, there's a lot of, like, if you Google what an orgasm does for your body, there's many good things. And the number one is it takes away the stress and tension in your life. After, you have an orgasm, you feel pretty good for the next 24 hours. You're kind of like coasting. I know for me, I'll often think to myself as I'm, getting ready to go to sleep and I've already had sex, I'll think, wow, that was really great. Like, what's the issue? I should be doing this like all the time. It's if we can make it so that it's completely like normal, whatever that means.
Because it is, because we're humans, we have bodies, we have responses and needs. Um, yeah, I have talked with a couple of people who are in my peer group of gay men my age, who if they themselves do not have an orgasm or ejaculate, there are problems that result from that if you don't do it for long periods of time. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
knowing that our bodies have an automatic kind of equilibrium stabilizer, and that includes with our sexuality, is a way that we can stop. You can't shame yourself for something that is natural. Like,
Right.
it's
It's like, that's how we were designed. It's just so crazy. Yeah.
right.
And also I want to say here, if you don't have a partner, no problem. Or if you have a partner that maybe isn't into sexuality, no problem. Get the tools, and I'm going to leave a link of some of the good links to getting a good vibrator. That's right. I am. And satisfy yourself. Like, and also, I also know something to also address is that for people who are taking medications, sometimes it can sort of dull your appetite for sexuality. But it's so important for your well-being, for your physical well-being, that I would say do your best to allow yourself to have that release. When I first, here's a little share. When I first moved into my suburbia neighborhood, I kid you not, I think I was here for 2 months, and someone reached out to me and asked if I wanted to have what's called a slumber party, where you sell sexual enhancement tools. And I was already pretty positive and okay with vibrators and things like that. So that was my new home, like welcoming to the neighborhood. I had this I think I put
Nice.
flyers in everybody's mailbox. And I remember before I introduced the speaker that was selling all the things, this is long before I was, a life coach or anything. I stood up and I said, listen, it was all women that came. And I said, listen, I'm being serious. Like, we deserve to have ecstasy. We deserve to have orgasms. And I want every one of you here to have one. And here are some of the ways that we can get there. If our mind is too busy, if we can't calm our shit down. And it's funny looking back, because I remember how some of my neighbors were like, later, they said to me, oh my God, I couldn't believe you had that party. You just come to the neighborhood. But that's how strongly I feel about this. And it doesn't matter what age you are, sexuality is always important, even if you're not having it anymore because maybe physically you can't, still touching and holding and all those things are crucial to our well-being.
Yeah, and that's first of all, I can't believe you haven't watched Grace and Frankie, because that's really the premise of how the show evolves, is that these two middle-aged women and become committed to ensuring that women their age have access to, the tools that are age appropriate for them to make this work for them. So I should catch it because it's very funny. But
Okay.
gay men and the relationship between gay men and sexuality in the world and religion is very complicated. And people have demonized gay men and our desires as something again to be shamed. So if sex is bad, then gay sex is like, I don't know how you can get, if you're going to go to hell for one, I don't know how you can get, go to more hell.
Right.
But so I think we've been always very aware of this. I think that our male sexuality is wired differently, and the being present is where I think everybody can find some sort of connection with something greater than themselves. There are a lot of things that have popped up in the gay world where they retreats and sexuality experiences that train us to reprogram how we've thought about ourselves, how we were taught to think about ourselves, how we're taught to think about our culture, and what our desires are, what our attractions are, and how we are taught to be respectful of the humanity that we're engaging with. So I think the presence and the alignment are where we start to understand the connection between our bodies and our spirit. If there's a body mind connection, if there's a body spirit connection, then I guess what? Just like you said, like the fastest route and the way to be in that space is to be aware of what's happening to our bodies during sex and how that can be a surrender to the universe and a prayer of gratitude if you want to get kind of even more deep into the esoteric world. But it's a gift, just like all of our lives are gifts. Anything that we're experiencing as humans, we need to experience as humans.
Right.
Self-denial, flagellation for for something that it reinforces shame. Let's just stop that. Like, to develop our own internal compasses of what works or what is quote unquote sinful is where we got to start. Like, we are here to experience life fully.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. I want to ask you a question regarding that.
mhm.
I mean, first, with my own share is when actually my husband brought in vibrators first into our marriage, and at the time, I remember really struggling with like, is this bad? Am I cheating? Is this terrible? That kind of thing. I know I went through that for a few years before I didn't feel the shame anymore. So I guess my question to you is, as a gay man, like, how did you ever experience when you were first, maybe when you first were experimenting in sexuality, and embracing being gay, like, did you ever feel a sense of shame? Did you ever have to work through that? And how did you, for anybody who might be
Yeah,
just dabbling?
that's a great question. I've thought about this before. I guess I can say I've had a lot of internalized shame about a lot of things in my life, and I think maybe being a gay man, yes, perhaps, yeah, I was trained just like many of us are, from especially from my generation, to be shamed about being gay. But specifically about sexuality, I don't, I do not recall that being a part of the shame. Like, I perhaps wish I wasn't, if there was a time that I wished I could be different, or I could be straight, or I could change, but I just never remember feeling that shame about the sex part of it. It was more kind of gaining an understanding of sexuality in general, where, like, for instance, sex outside of, a normal heterosexual or a typical heterosexual couple was also considered, sinful if you're having sex and you're not married. I think being gay made me understand more fully that, oh, it's not about having sex under any sort of contractual experience. It's about who you're connecting with. So that's I think I was able to see almost, kind of expand my awareness that, oh, I'm not going to, because I can't get married. I couldn't at the time, but I still, you know, am a sexual being. It doesn't make sense then that this policy or this law that is, man-made, is true for any sex. I really feel like I understood all of sexuality more because I couldn't get married legally. And so, and that should mean that people that aren't married who are straight most likely have the same, desires, or have that desire to connect with the people that
Right.
I do. So it can't be bad. It can't be bad. Like, it just didn't make sense that it was.
Yeah.
So I could be in total denial of this because but I do feel like I embraced sexuality pretty easily in my life.
Yeah.
I don't remember feeling like I had to hide things. I mean, maybe when I was a teenager and I discovered, masturbation, I probably had wrestled with that as an idea, but that wasn't a gay thing. That was just like you're told that,
Right. That's
touching yourself is
religion.
bad.
Right. And religion. Yeah. Yeah.
So that I can remember feeling like, wait, is this wrong? But it's like, somebody else put to me recently, it's like sneezing. Like, you gotta do,
Right.
you gotta do it. So
Right. Yeah. Um, oh, there's so much to say and so much not
there
sure
is,
if
and we can revisit this.
um I I just want to say also, for speaking for women who've been with the same partner for a long time or whatever, and maybe, or women in general who feel, a lot of women feel self-conscious about their bodies. Um, and, like if they have sex, they'll only turn the light off. It has to be dark light or whatever. And as someone who's been with the same person for coming up on 36 years, I think, I've always asked my partner, like, do you notice those things? Do you notice, like, if I'm a little fatter, or if my thighs are more jiggly or whatever? Men don't notice that. Like, and I don't know, you can speak in the gay world, but I can say that it's, my husband always used to say, no, it's not about like what you look like. It's about the enthusiasm. It's about the openness and the, you know, um, it's hard to explain this, but so I just,
Your sexual appeal comes from how you feel about yourself, like your your awareness of your desirability, your attractiveness, your personality. I mean, it I think it affects how you look too. I think when you are focused from those things from the inside out, you exude confidence, and people become attracted to that. So,
yeah.
um,
So women, don't be afraid to show your body in all its beauty. That's part of it too, is like, I mean, we definitely should do a segment on this, which I don't think we have, about learning
we haven't.
to love your body as it
Yes,
is currently.
we're
Um,
thinking the same thing. I agree
yeah,
with
and
you.
I'm thinking
It's a
about
whole
like
thing.
someone like Lizzo. God bless Lizzo.
Lizzo,
I
I was
love
gonna say
her.
Lizzo.
And I love how she's just like, and I love that her dancers are bigger, and she's showing, and finally our society is getting to the point where we're seeing beauty comes in all shapes and sizes, and it's not, you know, things are supposed to wiggle and jiggle and sag and whatever, and all of that is beautiful too. So to own that, because by owning that, it does make you more present. If you're so worried about, well, I got to make sure the sheet covers this, or that it's dark like this, you miss out on the full expression of what sexuality is.
I agree. Yeah, and I would like to delve into this more with you because I'm not gonna say, I'll say my experience in the gay community is that we have body issues ourselves, and I think have to fit a lot of molds that I again observe it. A lot of uh, women in our culture having to deal with. The war. Being appealing, being sexually
Yeah.
attractive, having the ideal that we've defined as the ideal. So I think we face those things too. I have in my life. I'm getting older, so that involves a whole nother level of self exploration. Um, but again, my issues that I feel like I have, I don't want to hold on to them. I want to expand myself and to see the world and see myself as and understand that sexuality really does come from within. When you know who you are, that's what people find sexy. Like that is, I haven't always lived by that, but I do understand when I am attracted to someone, it is likely beyond just an initial like looking somebody aesthetically. When somebody is when I'm feeling that connection or that desire, it's usually because that person is just aware of their own beauty, and that's important. Like I will bring this up again if we when we do talk about our bodies, but Sybil Shepherd used to have a commercial for hair color, and she used to say the line in the commercial was, "People say I'm attractive. I say I agree. After all, I had nothing to do with it." Like I just thought that was so powerful because we're as part of the shame, if we're taught to then you know con- rate ourselves and to say, oh, I'm not beautiful, or not accept compliments if we are attractive or whatever. But everybody deserves to feel beautiful, and to know that our beauty is within, and X has nothing to do with us. Like that's and I just thought, like, what a way to embrace the world. Like I'm not going to pretend like I'm not going to pretend like I don't find myself attractive. Like that's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
We should acknowledge it if that's how we feel, and everybody should feel it.
Yeah. So, okay, as we sum up, I guess what I would like to leave the audience with is, look at sexuality as emerging, as a experience of people coming together and feeling this higher vibration, with as connecting with source. And see it for what it is, be present with it, look at it the same way you look at the, well, I guess that I'm trying to think, even the way when you put your whole self in it, when you're experiencing it, to get the maximum enjoyment out of it, try and turn off the mind so you can just feel. Because when you merge and when you experience that Godhead, that orgasm, I know for me, I'll see colors and I'll just have this massive energetic experience. And it's taken me a lot of years to get here. It's also being very comfortable with a partner, very comfortable in my own skin, which I think does come sometimes with age and time. But celebrate it, because it helps in so many facets of your life. What would you like to end
I
with?
would add to that. I think that we can also do that when we are with ourselves. I think that that's also important. I just recently saw a video from a gay local or a gay guru who also does sexuality and spirituality workshops. And really, I haven't seen the video, but I've seen the titles. But I mean, he does do a session on being aware in the moment that you're with yourself. Like, know what's happening in your body when you've chosen to make that time for you. So yeah, even in your own individual sexual experiences with yourself, be aware of the pleasure, be aware of the gift, be aware of it. It's like paying attention to eating a great, a meal. Like, don't
Yeah.
wolf it down, be present in the moment. It's know what you're experiencing so that you can be grateful. And again, I love it. It is an intersection point. It is that this has the opportunity, if we choose to be a very visceral connection between spirituality and our bodies, sexuality.
Yeah. Yeah. Be conscious. That's what we're saying. Be so conscious, be so present. Okay. Well, I think that was a
I didn't
great way
even blush. I didn't even blush.
I think it was a great way to start our new season and be prepared for some maybe uncomfortable topics. But it's
And we
2023.
hope to make more comfortable. Yeah, we want to make them more comfortable for all
Yeah.
of us. So
Yeah. All right, everyone. Oh, and also I will have in the links below, like I said, some links to some good vibrators and anything that Rob maybe wants to add a link to too.
all right.
All right. Bye.
Bye.